You use the cloud every single day, whether you're streaming, gaming, using AI, everything we rely on digitally. But what most people don't realize is that none of it works without skilled trades. Behind every click, every upload, every connection, there's infrastructure. And behind that infrastructure, there are electricians.
Welcome to Skilled Nation, where hard work meets real opportunity. From welding and electrical to HVAC and the trades that keep this country running, this is where skills turn into careers. Skilled Nation is sponsored by Tulsa Welding School. It's a way of life, a badge of honor.
And today we're joined by Michelle Woodford from DPR Construction, someone who lives at the center of that world, helping power the systems that keep everything online at massive scale. Michelle, this is going to be fun. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So first of all, let's talk about how you got to this place.
Sure.
Because, you know, this industry didn't exist a while back. So were you planning on it from the jump, or did you just kind of follow a path and wind up here?
It's kind of super random. No one in my family does construction, so it's not an industry I even knew existed as a kid. Honestly, my dad was in the Army, and we moved every 3 or 4 years. So I thought I wanted to be an architect because I liked how our house looked different or the cities looked different, and was just trying to think of like what I could do when I grow up. And probably just played too much Sims in high school and built a bunch of houses on my computer and thought this would be a fun career. But I spent an internship with an architect, and he's actually the one that really taught me that I didn't like designing the buildings. I don't have the creative brain. I have more the engineering brain. And he's the one that referred me to his buddy that had a construction company. I think I was like their first female intern that they'd ever had. And and I loved it. And so I ended up in construction that way.
Was it more welcoming than you would have thought before it happened?
Yeah, I was just a laborer sweeping a broom, right, on the job site. And so I had no idea what I was doing. But they taught me so much, and like I'm really thankful for my experience there. And I interned there the next 3 summers in a row, doing different things for them, and was like, this is what I want to do.
Okay, and then so what kind of training and stuff did you have to get to where you are now?
So my degree is construction engineering and management. It's a combination of civil engineering along with like business construction management skills, kind of a hybrid. I went to Virginia Tech, and it was a relatively new degree back at the time. So it's kind of a hybrid of a bunch of different roles. But even in college, they really just teach you about project managers and superintendents are like the main 2 tracks in construction. But I went estimating, cost estimating. It's a totally different like career field that I took 1 class on it in college. And honestly, it was at 8 a.m. and I was late to it every time. So, and that's what I ended up doing in my career, right?
College,
but
the night
8 a.m.
before.
was rough for me in college. So, and then now I'm in construction where we start at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so now let's talk about this world. When I hear about AI and I hear about data centers, I don't know, it's all really theoretical to me, but I see them going up. They're massive.
They're massive.
They're just huge. So give me a sense of, first of all, is this going to be a from now on thing? Is this just now an industry that
If you want a cell phone, if you want all the apps that you have, yes.
Okay. So this is going to continue to expand, and somebody could do their 30, 40-year career in data centers.
Absolutely. I think the demand is just growing with AI. It's not going to stop. The only constraints we have are power grids and like our availability to get all the utility infrastructure you need for them. But the demand is there.
Okay. So it's going to be forever. And you hint at something that a lot of people are talking about. You see a lot of the headlines, where they're getting built and just how resource intensive they are.
Yeah.
Give us a sense of just siting these things.
Yeah, Phoenix has been a booming city for it because of the land. We have so much land out here, right? You can look out this window here and see just desert for miles and miles, right? So up until a few years ago, it was really affordable too. The land here was pretty cheap, right? So we boomed the past few years, and there have been so many coming to Phoenix. But Northern Virginia has always been the hub of where the most of them are.
That's so random. Why Virginia?
It's not, because the fiber lines go under the ocean. So to connect from DC to Europe, right, that's the closest point. And that millisecond that the fiber is like half a millisecond faster makes a difference to some people if you're trying to do a bank transfer or whatever you're using it for, right? Phoenix, we're not near the ocean, but we just go to LA. It's not that far. So it's like the next best thing.
Okay. And when you talk about like going to Europe, is that just like you said for connectivity?
Connectivity. Yeah.
And that's like just data
The cloud's
transfer?
not all satellites in the air, right? And so that's the confusing part of why they call it the cloud. Everyone thinks it's up in the sky.
That was my favorite. Like you'd see it on laptops in coffee shops. Somebody,
Yeah.
there is no cloud. The sticker,
Yeah.
Cloud. So let's define it. The cloud is what? It's just banks
Just servers,
of hard
banks
drives,
of servers,
right?
Yeah, inside a physical data center.
And is it when I have like my external hard drive because I'm doing video editing, say,
Yeah.
on my desktop,
Okay.
and my like physical desktop,
Mm-hmm.
is that just a server is just a bunch of hard drives, right? Or is it different?
Essentially, yeah, chips. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's data storage.
Data storage, data
Okay.
processing.
How much of it is the storage? How much of it is the processing? And is there a difference?
Ooh, I mean, there's both. I don't know the percentage, right? But different facilities do different things, right? Not
Okay.
every data center is an AI data center, right? Like some are storage, some are processing. Like they all do different things depending on who it's for and what the needs are.
And who it's for? Who else using this? I imagine everyone that has like robust
Yeah.
delivery systems is using them. Like, so your Walmart, your DoorDash, your all.
Anyone that has an app is using it,
Okay.
right? Like Uber, Waymo, all those people, right? But then think about AWS is one of the largest, right? Amazon, like all the things that you order online, and they do a million other things than just shopping, right? Microsoft, Google, Apple, like all the big names are all building their own, but then also leasing from other developers. Like there's enterprise ones that you build exactly for Meta or for Google, and then there's ones that you'll go through like a third party developer, just like you're renting an apartment building and they rent a data center space from.
Right. And that's a big part of AWS, their model.
They do
isn't it?
both. They do both.
Yeah.
They build their own and they lease from others.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you have a sense of how big this industry is? Like it's growing so fast. I wonder if anybody knows.
Trillions. Yeah.
It's trillions and trillions of dollars.
Just in America or in the whole world, right?
Like in the United States, it's becoming one of the biggest things.
It's insane.
It is insane.
Yeah.
When will it end?
Yeah.
So you found your space in this, and what are you doing? What does your day-to-day look like, and how do you fit into this overall bigger picture of keeping this cloud and these data centers operational?
I spent the majority of my career in pre-construction, so the cost estimating side of it.
Okay.
So this is kind
Is that
of
what they call it? Pre-construction?
Pre-construction. So anything that happens before construction starts.
Okay.
Right? All the design process, all the permitting, all the cost estimating, all the value engineering, all the things that happen before you actually break ground.
Okay, and this is important because I remember back when they were talking about we're going to find all the shovel-ready projects,
Yeah.
and they're like, "There's no such thing."
Yeah.
It's like because once we know we're doing it, there's all this work to do. So
Yeah.
there's always a delay before you break ground.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's pre-construction.
So that was what I did the majority of my time. I'd be going out and sourcing electricians and mechanical contractors and purchasing all the materials and contracts and getting them all written and doing my own takeoffs, quantifying square footage of everything and just itemizing the entire project was like what I spent a lot of my career doing. I've always pretty much been doing data centers. I have done like a DPR does other things, like I've done some hospitals and commercial work, but I just found my niche in the data center space and I love it. And so I've probably been doing that for the past 8 years, only focusing on the data center side of it.
So you've really been for a lot of the data center boom. You've been involved in it. How is it different than other kinds of construction and other kinds of electrical?
It's just very technical, right? I feel bad for some of the architects on the data center space because they want to design this very fancy looking building and the server doesn't care about aesthetics, right? They just need the temperature to be the correct temperature in the space. So like it's just a different focus. Like the electrical is the biggest part of the building. And so that's like what everything revolves around. And I think that the rest of the building is what supports it. But
When you talk about the electrical, right? How much of a data center is the data and the servers, and how much of it is cooling? And why is the cooling system just so integral to the whole thing?
yeah, that's shifting right now in the
Oh, really?
industry because liquid cooling is becoming more of a thing.
Oh,
Air cooling was always the largest way to cool the servers in the past. And so I would say 60% of the building was electrical at that point and 20% is mechanical. But now that is kind of like flipping, because if with liquid cooling, then it's using water to cool the computers instead. And so then the mechanical scope increases. That's kind of coming up with where the electrical is too. So that's kind of a trend that's happening right now live.
And so is that making the cooling more efficient, or is it just making it less energy intensive?
It's both. The servers are getting more dense and they're getting smaller, right? Think about when phones first came out and they were the flip phones.
Oh yeah,
with the antenna,
remember that?
Right?
I love seeing the old movies and they're holding like a suitcase up to their head.
Yeah,
I got my mobile phone.
right. So the phones have shrunk, and so are servers for everything else, right? Everything's getting more dense, but it is producing more heat, and so the liquid cooling cools it faster, and more efficient. But the myth that everyone thinks is that we're using gallons and gallons of water, but it's actually a closed loop, so it just recirculates.
Okay.
You fill it the first time,
Yeah.
and it recirculates.
It's like a pool. Fill it once.
I mean, we're in Arizona, and the easiest reference is a golf course uses more water than a data center.
Right.
And
you don't see people protesting the golf courses.
You don't see people protesting water consumption on golf courses, even though we have 1 million in town.
True.
So I think that's like the fact that we have to get out there to the public when we see all these negative press articles about data centers coming out, right?
I've never heard it put that way. And that's a really clean way to put it, because you do hear it's like, well, why are they putting, if they're water intensive, why are you putting them in a desert where water is scarce?
Right.
Now, intuitively, that seems to make sense, but you don't realize if it's a closed loop.
It's a closed loop. It recirculates.
So it's a finite amount of water. You're filling it up once.
Correct.
Okay. Well, there you go. You've learned something, everybody. Where are they going? Like, okay, they're going to be here for the next 30, 40 years. As long as there's apps, as long as there's computers, there's going to be data centers.
Right. ChatGPT.
But now they're changing, because we just talked about one change from the cooling system, air cooling. To what are the other changes?
I mean, ChatGPT, you search something in there, uses 10 times as much energy as a Google search.
Okay.
So that's the demand part, right? It's just the speed and how fast, like, people want an answer now. I'm sure we've all experienced when your Instagram account is down and it's down across the whole state or something, right? So these glitches happen, but the power demand is just so large when you're trying to get that kind of speed.
Yeah. So talk about that. How do you prevent this kind of complexity? I imagine these systems are insanely complex. And when I think of complexity, I think of a lot of potential failure points. Like a lot of things could go wrong. When a lot's happening, a lot could go wrong.
True.
So how do you keep it up and running? Because honestly, there's not that many interruptions in my service. When I turn on my Instagram, it's usually right there.
Yeah, it's redundancy. You don't just store it in one data center, right? They have all these mechanisms in place to punt it to the one in Virginia if Arizona goes down, or Texas, or Utah, or wherever, right? They're building so many of them that they can just bounce between all the different servers. If one goes down, they have enough others.
Okay, so redundancy is pretty much the key. But any individual center that's part of that redundancy chain, how often do you have outages? How often do they go down?
I don't know the statistics of that, right? But I'm sure they do. But every data center has 10 to 20 people that are full-time maintenance people that work on the facility, right? That's a whole different career path we could get into too, right? Like, that's such a high demanding need as well, to just maintain these computers and servers and the equipment and keep everything up.
What is their background? Like, how do you prepare for that gig?
Everyone that I've met in that industry comes from all different places, right? They could be from the military, or they could be software engineers, or anything. And, it's kind of just a niche that no one really talks about.
Right.
And
that's why I'm surprised to hear it.
There's not a college degree that you can go do that. Like, you just learn on the job.
Okay.
Right?
There ought to be one. There you go.
No, because I don't think you need to go to college to do half the things that evolve in the data center space, right?
Okay.
And so that's the other myth that we're trying to debunk, because back in my day, everyone was told you have to go to college, you have to get a 4-year degree.
Right.
But actually, you can go into construction and you don't necessarily need it.
Let's talk about that. We're talking with Michelle Woodford, and we're talking about skilled trades. And so when we're talking about the skilled trades in the data center space, I mean, especially in the construction phase, I would imagine all the skilled trades are deployed.
Yeah.
So Tell me,
Electrician's
like,
the largest, but we probably have 50 to 60 trades on site.
okay,
Building the building, right?
building the building, right? So you everything from the welding, from the
Steel, concrete, roofing, everything, right?
and you're saying though, the ongoing careers on site could also come from the skilled trades.
Yeah, the people operating the data center.
Operating the data center itself. So
Yeah.
that ongoing career
Yeah,
at
the
a
maintenance.
single location where you're not moving around from job site to job site, that's going to come out of the skilled trades as well.
They can, yeah.
Okay.
Right. Ideally, you have someone who's proficient in electrical and mechanical background if they're taking care of the generators and the switchgear and the servers, right? So, yeah, you want them to have that knowledge too.
Gosh, I would think that when you think you're going in for electrical, right, you wouldn't necessarily be able to anticipate the level of precision and complexity that's going on in a data center. What is changing, or is it all based on the same basic knowledge?
I mean, power hasn't changed, right? Like,
Okay, so it is
it's the same
pretty much the
basic
same
knowledge.
basic principles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just a lot more scale.
All right. When you walk into one of these places, what does it look like? I've never been inside. I pass them on the street, and they're massive and they're huge, but how densely packed are they? Is
They're
it just
pretty
racks
dense.
and
It's
racks?
just you're just going to see rows and rows of conduit, of piping, like the seal. It's all usually ceiling overhead, everything running. You know, you have sprinklers, you have chill water piping, you have VESDA, you have electrical conduit, telecom cable tray. Like it just you'll see stacks and rows of different levels of infrastructure. And there's a whole nother career where people model that in a computer, like virtual modeling, right? And you'll just make sure that everything fits in the space allotted.
Oh my gosh. So you're essentially building it virtually.
We build it virtually first,
Okay.
and then we build it in the field.
Okay.
'Cause
Are you involved in that?
A little bit, right?
Okay.
There's BIM engineers that focus on that. I was never a BIM
What's a
engineer
BIM?
myself. Building information modeling.
Okay.
So that's what they do. They take everything from all the materials and put it in the model and make sure that the tolerances are there and that everything fits. So you don't go in the field and all of a sudden there's a pipe on top of where your pipe is supposed to be.
Yeah. And so would that all be considered part of the pre-construction process too?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I'm learning so much about pre-construction. I was thinking construction as construction, but there's this whole phase before
The whole
it.
phase before it.
And if
the
you
whole
don't do
phase after it.
pre-construction right,
You got to plan it right.
if you don't plan it right, everything could go wrong. Say
Correct.
all downstream.
Correct.
How much of it is I don't want to say guesswork, but how much tolerance do you have to give for realities in the field that didn't match what you were trying to pre-model?
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge we have right now is even the servers themselves that go into the computers rooms are changing.
Okay.
So
Oh my gosh.
we
So-
might do the whole pre-construction effort. We might have even started construction and we're halfway through the building, and then they come in and say, actually, the new technology requires this. So then we pivot live in the field
Okay.
because we have to support that new tech. Because the tech, by the time we finish, a typical build that takes a year and a half, say, like the technology has changed from what we first started planning, right? It's constantly evolving. So we do have to pivot a lot in the field, and then you're going back and you're remodeling and you're replanning even during construction.
So when people talk about these, one of the things you always hear them say is, "Oh my God, that went up so fast."
Yeah,
Like they seem to just sprout up.
they do
really
go fast. Yeah.
Are they templated? Are they mostly the same, or how do they go up that fast?
Most people have a template, yes.
Okay.
That's a framework, right? So the same data center in Virginia looks like the one in Arizona, right? If they're owned by the same person, they're probably going to be the same kind of framework.
Right.
But they're constantly evolving their design to support the new tech as well. So one ever-changing design is what we've
Okay.
called it.
And are they like, do regulations change? Because I remember
Regulations change too. Local
I feel
jurisdictions.
like there was an early complaint about data centers that I'm not hearing as much anymore, and I'm wondering if they're being constructed differently because people talk about a hum or like a
the
sound.
noise from the generators
Yeah.
or chillers. Yeah.
And now I'm not hearing that as much, and are they sound insulating differently, or is the technology inside changing that it's not producing that hum as much anymore? Because it used to be a big story, and I'm not hearing it as often.
I feel like we've gotten away from that negative press. I mean, I do think that the owners of these facilities are trying to move away from neighborhoods directly next to a neighborhood just because they know of that perception, right? You want to be nice neighbors. And so maybe that's just the change as they're shifting to the more the outskirts of town, right? Like Buckeye, Goodyear out here, like people are going really far west versus some of the pushback in Chandler or Mesa. It's like too close to the existing neighborhoods.
And hey, the further west you go, the closer you are to the ocean.
You are.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, I was
and
listening.
the land is more affordable still out there, right? So that's the other piece of it too.
Yeah, I'd never thought about that. I remember watching this movie about the founder of McDonald's, the founder.
Oh, I think I watched
and the
this
guy
too.
said, you're under the mistaken impression that you're in the burger business. You're in the real estate business because they own so much real estate. Even though those aren't big buildings, the amount of real estate that's getting bought up for data centers is really astounding.
Yeah.
It's huge. Do you have any sense of the scale? Can you convey the scale in any kind of terms that we can make sense of it?
The biggest thing right now is these mega campuses where somebody's buying 800 acres of land, right, to put a bunch of different data centers on. So that's just one developer, right? So it could be anything of that scale. A lot of times the smaller facilities are like drifting off. Like you don't see that many of just 10, 20 acre sites anymore. They're all seem to be more in the hundreds of acres.
The massives. Okay. And so does DPR work nationally? Do you go around to a lot of different sites? Okay.
We do.
So are you traveling constantly in your job?
I don't travel a lot. I'm focused on Arizona personally. DPR opened an office in Amsterdam, and I got to move there for a year back in 2018. So that was my traveling experience. But it's easiest when you're starting in a new country to have your same existing customers, right? So the people we build for here in Arizona are the same people that are building data centers in Europe, right? So consistent client base is what brought us over there. And so DPR is huge, has a big presence everywhere, but a lot of these data center jobs are in remote places now, not necessarily near one of our office locations, middle of nowhere, Texas, or
where the land is cheap.
Where the land is cheaper and the power is available. And the hardest part is getting the workers to go there, right? There's incentives, there's things they do to entice electricians to go to that part of town.
And you've brought up the key point that we like to talk about a lot. We're talking with Michelle Woodford, and I always want to say Woodward because I'm from Detroit, and that's our main drag through town.
It's Woodford, like the Kentucky bourbon.
Woodford, yes. Jobs. Let's talk about opportunity. Let's talk about jobs. Let's talk about what to expect and how to prepare.
Yeah.
For listeners who are like, okay, this is going to be a 30, 40-year opportunity and then some. How? I mean, you're sitting there and you're taking step one. What is step one?
To becoming an electrician? Or
to work at, let's start with electrician, but then maybe in other roles in data centers as well. Like you got to know what's the opportunity before you take step one. So for you started out with electrical. Or you've wound up in electrical. You started out with pre-construction and estimating and
I'm not an electrician. We have a ton of those on our sites, right? But as a construction company, you hire every trade to build the building, and you could go to trade school or you could join the union. There's plenty of different options there. Even if it's a non-union company, they all have their own programs. They will train you in their apprenticeship themselves, right? So you don't really have to have a lot of background. You have to start at the very beginning and work your way up, but the potential is exponential.
Okay, and so you're bringing up something I think is kind of important to underscore. The amount of training available, because there's such a need, are they trying to bridge that with opportunity, with apprenticeships, with on-the-job training where you're getting paid and not necessarily accruing student loans? How does that work?
Yeah, like a lot of what we do in our field is we're pushing a lot towards prefabrication. So similar to pre-construction, it's like prefabricating everything off-site. Like because there's
like
such
mobile homes kind of ish, or
kind of, yeah,
like
because there's
manufactured
such a demand for skilled trades, and the average age of an electrician is like 50 now, right? And so we're trying to do as much as we can off-site, like not on the actual construction site, pre-build it in a warehouse in a safer facility with less things in the way, and then you just bring that already done electric room and set it inside the building, right? So it eliminates the amount of hours on site and the actual construction. And not everyone wants to be on the roof of a building in Arizona in July when it's 120 degrees, right? Wouldn't you rather be working in that warehouse that's air conditioned?
Air conditioned.
So we're doing things to incentivize the craft to come work for us, right? Because it's not this sexy job of like a desk job where you're indoors and maybe you have like more pleasant facilities, right? We're trying to incentivize people to go out in the field, work outside, and a lot of people just don't want to do it, right? They're like, that's actual hard work. And so there's things that we can do as a construction company to make it better for them, right? We can give them an air-conditioned break room. We can give them air-conditioned restrooms. Like there's other things that we're trying to do to attract craft without necessarily taking anything away from the actual skilled trades itself. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And honestly, it's, first of all, I've had desk jobs, not sexy. I can tell you from experience. But, you know, when you're talking about, you have two things that are working against each other. Cheap land tends to be far away from where people live.
Yeah, you have to drive.
And so there's either going to be a commute or you're working remote and you're being put up in a hotel by the company or whatever. And, you know, there's a good age for that in your career arc, right? And then there's maybe an age where you have kids, you have a homestead, you want to just be home. Is that part of the challenge of recruiting for on-site, is that you're just getting the younger set?
It is part of the challenge. It's definitely part of the challenge for women, right? Especially if they have the burden of childcare and are trying to drop kids off at a daycare, and daycare doesn't open up till 7. So how do you be at the job site by 5, right?
Right, when it's in the middle of...
Right. So it's definitely, I think, a big hindrance for a lot of females in the industry, but it's a burden on your family, and it's a sacrifice to take that time away if you're driving an hour and a half to get to a job site, say, in the morning, right?
And so other than like prefabbing, how do you recruit around that? What is your pitch?
Our pitch is to give them a better environment, right? We want to make the job site a place that they want to be at, to have a culture there that everyone wants to be a part of. It's the team and the people that you make that makes you want to show up to work every day, right? So there's even just something as simple as having like a paved walk pad so that you're not walking through the mud to get to the building. Things like that are appreciated, right?
Okay. I think that's stuff you would not even think of.
It's stuff that didn't used to happen, though, in the industry.
Okay. And is that just like asking? I mean, is that just asking the employees what would make your day easier?
We do a lot of surveys to ask, like, what would make you like coming to work every day, right? More like, what could we do to help?
And that's probably what makes DPR a place people want to work.
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed it?
I love it, right? I think that you have to love what you do. You spend so much of your time at work. Yeah. And if you're not passionate about what you do, it would kill me. I have to love what I do.
So what drives the passion? Is it the usefulness of what you're creating, or what is it that gets you out of bed every day?
I have a lot of coworkers that are in the healthcare field. DPR does a lot of hospitals, things like that, right? And they love seeing the cancer facility that they built and that the patients can go there and could get cured from this illness, right? So to them, that's very tangible.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, well, you just build a building with computers. Like, where's the value in that? I'm like, well, did you take Uber this week? Did you use your phone? Like, I think it's so cool that every time I use one of these softwares to think that I had a part of like building the facility that Microsoft's Excel went through,
You're
right?
Sitting there scrolling, going, this is job security.
Yeah.
Right here. This is what
very much job security. It's not going anywhere. Everyone uses it. I think you just don't think about it in your day-to-day life.
It's got to be thrilling, actually. You are in the fabric of everybody's day-to-day.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's crazy. It's maybe, I don't even know if it's healthy anymore, but you see people sitting in groups and they're all looking at their phones.
They're all on their Instagram.
They're all on their
they're
phones.
Using, right? Yep.
And
they're using a data center. They're using a data center that's probably built somewhere, right?
So this is never, ever, ever, ever going away.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It might get repurposed. It might, like, the technology will change, right? There's going to be evolution of the AI as it progresses, but as a concept, no, it's not going away.
Yeah. And you talk about like the recruiting things. How far behind are we in terms of supplying the right skills to get these built? Because it seems like a headline that I see frequently is that there's a skills gap.
There is. It's a real struggle. That's why we're trying to prefabricate as much as we can to try to reduce the number of skilled hours that we need, right? But yeah, there's still a shortage.
Are you involved in trying to funnel people into skilled trades?
A little bit. There's things that we do. I listened to one of your past episodes with Kate from Move Over Bob, right? I was
Yep.
lucky to be in one of those magazines that we're trying to send to local high schools and trying to communicate that there's other career paths, right? And so there's definitely things that we participate in that we try to like influence, like, hey, like think about these things. Like, and when I was in high school, no one told me about construction as a career.
It's getting better,
right? But I think the education is getting better. We're not there yet, but like I think it's getting there.
Yeah. And for people to think that, okay, this is going to be a job, I mean, would you categorize it as a job or a career? Is there a path?
It's a career. Yeah, it's definitely a career. It's not just a job that you show up to every day, right? It can grow and evolve, and you can work your way up a whole company and do whatever you want to do at the end of the day. And so it's not something that they really talk about in high school. So
Right. So have you done any, particularly for women who are looking into the skilled trades? I mean, how important is mentorship? Have you been involved in that either as a mentee or a mentor?
yeah, I'm a mentor to some of the younger females at my company, and actually our office here in Arizona was ran by a female for a long time. And
Nice.
so I would always look up to her as one of the mentors as well for me. And so,
Well, don't you think that it's because I've just heard it so many times that when you see someone who looks like you doing something, it just makes it seem that much more possible.
yeah, makes it seem sustainable. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, good on you.
So I'm very fortunate. DPR has a ton of women that work there. I know not every construction company does, but it's becoming more prevalent.
And do they recruit for that? I mean, most of the time, that kind of stuff doesn't happen by accident. Was that intentional?
Yes and no. I think it's about finding the right person, and I don't think that it needs to be mandated that, oh, you need to hire this many women or anything, right? It's like you just find the right talent, and it doesn't matter who it is.
So pretend, not that I'm your mentee, but somebody listening is a mentee. What's the advice? What do you think? What is the mental hurdle they need to overcome to see themselves in this path?
I think it's just about not being intimidated, right? It is still a male-dominated field, but don't be intimidated by that, right? There's nothing in the requirements of construction management that women can't do, right? And so I think it's just overcoming that mental hurdle. But
And
that's
when
really
they're
it.
doing a mental skills assessment, like what kind of person would do really well in this environment? Like, what are the traits?
Detail-oriented, organized. Like, I think women actually succeed at the multitasking and problem-solving element, and that is it's nice to have a different perspective on that, right? I'll come into the room and have a completely different idea than the 5 dudes that were talking about it just now, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't think about that perspective."
We dudes can only think
Right?
of one thing at a time. One thing at
I
a time.
multitask to a fault, so that's my own thing. But yeah, it's very detail oriented, right? Because you're talking about these technical builds, and so you don't want to miss any small thing on the drawings or specs. And so, as long as you're detail oriented and organized and motivated and passionate about it is like the biggest thing, right? Where there's a will, there's a way.
And when you talk about drawings and specs, what are you looking at most of the day? Like what do you interface? Is it old? I'm trying to think of the blueprint type things. I mean,
Blueprints, yeah, they're
really,
they're
they still exist, or is it all like in computers?
it's all
now?
digital. It's on a computer.
all
I
digital,
mean,
okay.
we print them out. The city inspectors still like the physical
printed one?
print.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, some city
They
inspectors
do look
still.
cool. I've seen you go
Oh,
into some
yeah.
buildings and they have them framed, and it
But they
looks very
weren't done by hand anymore. They were still printed
Oh.
from a computer model.
cool. Okay.
But yeah, I primarily look at them in a PDF viewer on my computer, or I look at them in the model, the virtual model, right, where we were talking about all the pipe and conduit that's stacked. Like, so I could look at it in a 3D model, or I could look at it in the 2D PDF.
Okay. And then the specs are just like Excel spreadsheets that
Specs
go for days.
Specs are Word documents, right? They're
Word documents,
Yeah,
all right.
they're the PDF of a Word document of like, okay, it has to be this material purchased from this source and meet these requirements, right? And so you have to make sure you hit all the technical aspects of what the client wants in their building.
And there you have it. There's your day to day.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I like it because I never know what my day-to-day is. I think my day-to-day is different every day too. A different problem will come up or something you have to solve. And so I might go in on Monday morning thinking my day is going to be this, and it's something completely different. And I
Like,
love,
talk
I love
talk
that.
about what's like a pivot like that you'd have to make on the fly.
Maybe the city inspector wants us to implement this new code requirement or something, right? Maybe something changed and we have to figure out how to fit this sprinkler head into this thing instead, right? So things like that, or supply chain disruptions. Something gets delayed in a shipment coming from overseas or
Oh my
wherever it is,
gosh.
right? So we were planning for this thing to come on Friday. Now it's not coming for another month, right? How do we pivot and wait and readjust our schedule? Like that happens a lot too.
So that you can remain productive on
Being
site.
productive on the rest of the stuff while still waiting for this thing that's been delayed.
Talking about headlines again, you've heard so much since COVID about supply chain.
Yep.
Are they fixed for you? Are there still problems?
There's still problems. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I feel like it comes in waves, right? So we take it
Do
with
you
a grain
buffer
of
for
salt.
that? Like when it's going well, do you order more than you need so you can spread it out over time? Like how do you try to ride that wave?
I mean, that would require a lot of capital, money if you were trying
Okay.
to order extra. So typically, no. But we do try to they'll give you an approximate time frame, right? Maybe it takes between 12 to 20 weeks. And that's up to you if you want to plug in the 12 or if you want to plug in the 20, right?
Right.
And take your bets.
Do you always
But-
try to go with the conservative? Do you always
I
go
do.
with the 20?
I do try to go with the conservative because it's easier to improve it than it is to
Right.
delay it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's happy news to get.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, we're ahead of schedule.
Hey, exactly.
Okay.
Every owner wants to hear that.
Yeah. Okay. This is fascinating. So,
Yeah.
what am I missing? Because I've never stepped foot in a data center, and I don't think most people will.
Most people haven't. No, the security's pretty tight.
Yeah, and you're just, yeah, I would imagine it would have to be.
Yeah.
But you're talking about so many systems, and it just seems like this living organism. Because you just brought up a system that I hadn't even thought, like the sprinkler systems in case there fire suppression. There's got to be security. There's
Yeah.
got to be cameras.
That's a whole other field, right? Security of these data centers is usually an active guard walking around at full time, right? And so, yeah, whole other career path too.
A whole another set of vendors
Yep.
supplying those people too. So,
Cameras, all the things.
so this is not just about the builds that you're doing.
Right.
This is an entire ecosystem of careers, job paths.
It is, yeah. And I think there was some negative publicity around data centers because they only employ 10 to 20 people, right? And they're not bringing in enough tax revenue into the city. But think about everything else that goes into it. I mean, there's plenty of careers and jobs and opportunities there. It's not just the 10 people that are the maintenance facilities people.
And you're saying this is not just going to be a quick binge of building and then it's going to level off or drop off. It's going to be because we keep coming up with new technologies that demand more data
Yep.
and more
And
processing speed.
You're going to go retrofit the old ones, right? Like they're going to go redo the existing buildings.
How old are the oldest ones?
Oh, gosh. I mean,
Like the oldest data centers? How new a phenomenon is this and how old are the oldest now?
they're probably from like the 80s. I mean, like,
From
yeah,
the
like
80s?
the data centers have been around for a long time. I don't know the exact year.
Okay,
I'd have to
but I
ask
mean,
Chat
but,
GPT.
You're talking about
I'm talking
decades ago.
Yeah, they've been around for a long time. But
And I got to imagine the
scale-
obsolescence in that.
Yeah, the scale is what it is the problem.
Right. Well, but also you just look at tech, like you talked about the phone, how phones have changed
Yeah.
so quickly. The obsolescence in those early buildings must be nuts. So there's always going to be
They're
retrofitting
also
happening.
retrofitted. Yeah,
Okay.
just like an old house, right? You're going to go renovate it and flip it just like they will with data centers.
Okay, my gosh, we have learned a lot about data centers. What am I missing from never having been in one? And like, because I can't imagine the scale and complexity. What is a surprising thing about a data center that's going to blow our minds?
I think people, I don't know, are overestimate it. It's really not as complex as it sounds.
Okay,
It's just the scale is so large. But the
so it's a
actual
simple thing,
build,
big.
the actual build itself is not complex if you break it down into the simple, like electrical one line of system to system to system. Like it's pretty easy to follow. It's just the scale is massive and it sounds so intimidating. And obviously it costs billions of dollars to build these things. And so it's the scale is what's the biggest part of it. But if you break it down into its smallest pieces, it's not that complicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much pressure do you feel every day? Because you talk about, well, you talk about billions of dollars and you talk about how many people are relying on it.
Yeah.
Are you stressed out constantly? My gosh, that's a lot of pressure.
It is a very stressful career, but I enjoy it. So I have seasons where I'll go through like busier seasons than others, right, as we're commissioning or finishing a project. But I love what I do, and I don't let that stress get to me. But I think the burnout can get real to others.
Have you seen it? Have you seen burnout in your
I've
industry?
seen it, especially when the demand of the speed is requiring an electrician to work 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, right? And so there is definitely burnout that happens at that. I mean, they're compensated for it, right? And
Right,
a lot
yeah.
of people are like, that's fine. Like, I want to work and get my hours in and make a bunch of money. But the burnout is real. And I think that's the piece that we have to always keep in mind is like, we can't just push these crazy fast schedules without expecting people to have some sacrifices. And
there's a human cost.
Mm-hmm.
Mental or physical or both?
Both. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Both. Mm-hmm.
So when people are doing that self-assessment about career fit, they should be willing to work in a high-pressure environment.
It is a high pressure environment, yes.
Okay.
But I think it's gotten a lot better than it used to be. Construction used to have one of the highest suicide rates in the entire like industry.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at like most career paths. And so that became recognized a few years ago, and there's been a huge push to suicide prevention on construction sites because of that, right?
They're getting better, and they're also getting better regarding. You got to have an awareness, and you got to talk about it. Like it's not going to get better until you talk about it.
Exactly, and not being afraid to talk about it.
And with the substance abuse too, as well, because that factors into it as well. So I think that those things are being talked about and improved.
They are. Yeah, it's been a huge change in the past.
And does that happen at the corporate level? Does DPR have programs for that?
Yes. Yeah. There's so many things we do throughout the year of different, like, we have a monthly topic, right, that we'll go distribute to each of the job sites. And there's things that we do to just make that awareness known, right? Come talk to us.
All right.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's wrap it up. But give me the pitch for following your path.
Following the data center path, I think it's just super cool to be part of the trending edge of technology right now, and just being involved in where the industry is headed, and AI is like not going away, and it's super fascinating to me. And so I would encourage anyone to look into it as a career path.
I, for one, welcome our robot overlords.
They're not going to take over.
Do you hear people saying that, though? Come on. When does AI get self-aware?
Then you just
How close are we?
press the red button and pull the
You
cord.
never saw Space Odyssey, apparently.
I did not.
You can't just unplug them. They're smarter than us. Well, thank you for bringing about, the robots. By the way, it's not robots. You don't work with robots, right?
We actually have a little robot that goes around and lays out our laser scans, and so
so it is robots.
We do have some robots.
It is.
But
It's
we have
as
a robot
scary
dog.
as it is in my dreams.
We have a robot dog. He goes up the stairs. It's kind of cool.
Robot dogs. You heard it here first, folks. Michelle, thank you so much for taking time to talk about your career path, the opportunities, and actually, it's pretty darned exciting if you can handle the workload, if you can handle the stress. It actually sounds like it's really rewarding.
It's very rewarding. It's worth it.
All right. Listen, the digital world runs on more than just the screens you're looking at. There are servers behind all that, and those servers, they need people. It runs on precision and on moments where there's no margin for error. Michelle gave us a real look at what it takes to keep everything online, even when everything is on the line. Thank you so much for being here, Michelle, and thank you for listening to Skilled Nation. It's a badge of honor and a way of life.